Well, it has been a very interesting debate today and very interesting contributions, but I would like first to ask you a very concrete question about the topic of this conference, because it came originally from the Council of Europe, and I would like you to probably repeat some of the main points you've made today on your introductory speech about the main challenges to culture policies today.
The subject which is discussed during this conference is very close to the core business of the organization that we represent here. The Council of Europe has always tried throughout the decades to raise certain questions in anticipation, I would say, and to try modestly to provide some answers. It is clear that today we are confronted with a number of incredible phenomena which are making us more and more vulnerable and changing the basic paradigms on which our societies are based. I can refer to all what we know already in the field of climate change, for instance, in the field of diversity, which seems to raise problems, at least in some societies, the inability to deal with many issues such as the financial and economic crisis. All these things put together make it so that basic questions are needed on the issue of what role for a culture based on human rights, democracy and the rule of law, which have been, from the very beginning, the reference basic points for our organization. And culture, how can it be used positively with a view to reinforce the values that we need in order to face up these challenges in the future? How culture can facilitate participatory processes so that everybody can try to share his own contribution to the solving of these problems, and how the rule of law can also be helpful in putting some order in the things that we do so that they can be inscribed in time and be translated into laws, conventions, services, whatever. So this, in my view, is an excellent opportunity with all the incredible expertise that we have been able to put together to raise some of the contemporary questions and to try to start to anticipate the solutions for the future, trying to put culture not in the background, but exactly on the opposite, in the front line, because only culture and an open, critical way of thinking can help us in finding, as I said, modestly at least some answers to the many questions that this problem raises.
Thank you. And what will be the role of Culture Watch Europe in this process that you have just described? Because there are so many different issues, and how Culture Watch can react to those issues? How you see its role in the future? Will be involved?
Well, Culture Watch Europe is simply a platform. It's a platform for many different groups, governmental, non-governmental, representatives from civil society, artists from across Europe. Our 50 member states who've joined the European Cultural Convention to express a view, and it is a kind of focus for debate on key themes, which are trying to look at issues concerning cultural shifts, a renegotiated role for culture in relation to public policy, how individual groups, whether they are based locally or nationally or internationally, should interact and relate to one another to try to collaborate in discovering solutions and facing up to the challenges. So Culture Watch Europe is an umbrella. It's not a movement per se, it takes into account all the existing instruments of the Council of Europe, but are watching and monitoring and looking at shifts and changes across Europe and trying to involve people in the discussions, to animate, to provoke conversations, and hopefully collectively come up with a number of interesting further themes that can be developed and persuade many, many people to subscribe to this notion of the importance of culture and the way in which it interacts with society today.
And how do you see the follow-up actions of this conference in relation to what you just said? Because what are the first steps which are going to be undertaken after this reflection and potential contributions and proposals that we are looking for?
What's interesting about this conference itself, it's a collaboration. There is the Council of Europe, but many other partners, European Commission, Cultural Action in Europe, the Budapest Observatory, the European Economic and Social Committee, the UNIC structures, the Allianz Foundation, and each of these partners will be determining how best to move this agenda forward collectively. I think it's the first time where so many partners have met together to look at fundamental questions, big questions, which will result in a number of actions related to the Council of Europe around our basic themes of rights, democracy and rule of law. The European Commission's interests are different, relating this discussion to the global agenda for culture. So each partner, I think, will make its own decisions of how to move forward and stimulating many other partners. This is an open discussion, it's not a closed discussion, and we hope that those who are with us, and many hundreds of people who are with us in this conference, will take some of the inspiration and develop ways in which they can provoke and continue the conversations within their own constituencies.
Well, Mrs. Dragoni, do you have anything to add to this picture?
Well, I realize, as a matter of fact, that one of the most important activities in the cultural field that we run with the Council of Europe is this exercise of setting policies in the cultural field first and foremost, and secondly, monitoring what happens in our member states. And we run this evaluation or assessment exercises of their national cultural policies. I'm sure that many of the things which are going to be discussed here today and tomorrow will inevitably and positively so trigger and go into the evaluation of national policies, and by doing that they will certainly help us as evaluator, but also the member states who go through these processes to start to add new questions when they deal with their own cultural policies. This is just an example, but obviously we have a number of other programs which will certainly benefit from the discussions taking place here.